In the early chapters of my life, I was the kid who always felt just one step removed from everyone else. It was as if I was on the other side of a glass wall, watching the world go by but never quite managing to join in. At school, lunchtime was a solitary affair. I'd find a quiet corner, my nose buried deep in a book, the words providing a safe harbor from the tumultuous sea of social interaction. Now, it wasn't that I didn't desire companionship, far from it, but the mere thought of approaching a group, of breaking into their conversation with an "excuse me" or a "can I join you" felt like scaling a sheer cliff face without a safety harness. Every glance in my direction became a potential pitfall, every laugh a potential mockery, every whisper a potential secret shared at my expense. My parents saw my struggle. They watched as I navigated the labyrinth of adolescence with a heavy heart and a quiet voice, and they decided to act. They signed me up for group activities, hoping that structured interaction might help me break through my shell. I still remember my first day in a drama class. My heart pounded like a drum, a relentless driving rhythm that echoed my fear. I was given one line, just one line to say. The words were etched into my brain, rehearsed 1,000 times over. But as the moment approached, my mind turned into a blank canvas. The words, once so familiar, simply vanished. This pattern, this dance of fear and silence repeated itself throughout my childhood. Whether it was raising a hand in class, trying out for a team, or even just asking for help, there was always a barrier, a wall that seemed insurmountable. It wasn't just shyness. It was as if a part of me was locked away, silent and unreachable. But as daunting as it was, my parents decided it was time to coax me out of my shell. I remember my first day at a drama class, my heart pounding as I stood backstage. The smell of the polished wood, the hushed whispers of the audience, the heavy curtains separating me from the world outside. There was an exhilarating yet terrifying sense of anticipation, a moment of stepping into the unknown. I was handed a single line, just one sentence to deliver. It was supposed to be simple, but as the moment approached, my palms grew sweaty, my throat tightened, and the words I had practiced 100 times seemed to evaporate from my memory. I stood frozen, my mind blank, the world spinning around me. The instructor gently nudged me forward, but I was anchored in place, my fear holding me back. The moment passed and the line remained unsaid. I remember the silence that followed, the weight of the disappointed eyes on me, and the feeling of failure that wrapped around me like a shroud. It was a feeling I would become all too familiar with. This wasn't an isolated incident, but rather a pattern that took shape over the years. Whether it was raising my hand in class, trying out for a sports team, or asking someone for help, there was always this invisible barrier that seemed insurmountable. It was more than just shyness or introversion. It was a profound sense of disconnection, a feeling of being trapped within myself. I would watch my classmates with a sense of longing, wishing I could be like them, wishing I could step out of my shell and join in. But each time I tried, I found myself retreating, withdrawing back into my safe cocoon of solitude. This pattern wasn't just about shyness. It felt as if a part of me was locked away, silent and unreachable. It was like standing at the edge of a precipice, yearning to fly but too afraid to leap. But little did I know, this was just the beginning of my journey, the first step towards transformation and growth. Those years of feeling on the outside looking in weren't a phase to endure. They were a phase to learn from. Each awkward pause, each unspoken word, each solitary lunch, they weren't just moments of discomfort, but valuable lessons in disguise. As I look back, I realized that every moment of silence was teaching me something crucial about resilience. Each time I felt the sting of isolation, it was a nudge towards developing a thicker skin, towards understanding that sometimes life is about standing alone, about being your own cheerleader. It was teaching me to be resilient, to bounce back from adversities, to rise each time I fell. It was building in me a strength of character that no school lesson could ever impart. But it wasn't just resilience that these years taught me. They also instilled in me the power of introspection. When you're on the outside, you become an observer. You watch, you listen, and most importantly, you think. You start to understand people, their motivations, their fears, their desires. You become attuned to the nuances of human behavior. But more than that, you start to understand yourself. You start to delve into the recesses of your own mind, exploring your strengths, your weaknesses, your passions, your fears. This introspection, this deep self-understanding, was perhaps the most significant gift of those years. It was during these quiet moments of reflection that I started to understand who I was, what I wanted, and where I wanted to go. It was during these moments of introspection that I started to unlock the part of me that was silent and unreachable. So, if you're out there feeling like you're on the outside, remember this. These years, they're not just a phase to endure. They're a phase to learn from, a phase to grow from. It was during this time that I learned about the strength that comes from knowing yourself deeply. It's a lesson I wouldn't trade for anything, and one that I hope you'll carry with you on your own journey. To anyone who feels that same sense of being on the outside, know this. Your voice is not lost, it's just waiting for the right moment to emerge. This feeling of being on the periphery, observing rather than participating, can be a lonely place. But believe me when I say it's not a permanent state, but a stepping stone towards finding your voice. I want to share with you my own emergence from that silent shell. Like a butterfly breaking free from its cocoon, it was a gradual process. Years of observing from the sidelines had honed my ability to listen, to understand, and to empathize. But it was the realization that I had something to contribute, something valuable to say, that gave me the courage to finally speak up. It began with small steps, a comment in a class discussion, a suggestion during a team project. Each word spoken, each idea shared was a victory. And with every victory, my voice grew stronger. But it wasn't just about speaking up. It was about turning my observations into actions. It was about stepping up and taking an active role in shaping my world. It was about realizing that my perspective, my thoughts, and my ideas mattered. Each of us has a unique voice, a unique perspective to share. And it's through sharing these perspectives that we enrich our collective understanding and experience. It's just waiting quietly, patiently for the right moment to emerge. And when it does, it will be stronger, richer, and more powerful for all the silence it has endured. Yes, it took me years to find my voice, to turn my observations into actions, and to finally step off that bench and into the game. But when I did, the world opened up in ways I could never have imagined, and I know the same will happen for you. This can also be a reflection of your own life. I'm here to tell you that it's not too late. Each one of us has a unique path, a unique rhythm to our lives. It's not about fitting in, it's about finding that rhythm, that pulse that makes us who we are. For those of you who feel like you're always on the outside looking in, it's not about being on the outside, it's about the perspective you gain from there. It's about the depth of understanding you acquire, the resilience you build, and the introspection you master. And to those who feel like a part of you is locked away, silent and unreachable, know that your voice heard. And when it does, it will be stronger for all the silence it has endured. It's about taking that first step, however small it may seem. You have a unique strength that the world is waiting to see. It took me years to find my voice, to turn my observations into actions, but each step was worth it. A journey of introspection, resilience, and transformation. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to make a change. Join me in embracing the journey from the outside, looking into the heart of where the action is. Thrive today, transform tomorrow, embrace your Veda voyage.